Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, go.
Hey there, this is Kelly Scroy, Kelly Scroy, licensed mental health counselor and the Know Your Worth Women's Empowerment Program. And you're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to hit stop and I'll be right back.
So weird to say your stuff on there, you know?
That's okay.
I'm like, who am I?
Who am I? Where's my website? What's
Exactly.
It's all good. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Goughenour, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
Oh, Jeff, I am so excited to be here. I can't even tell you. Just the name of your show gets me excited. Vroom, vroom, veer.
Vroom, 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 vroom. Don't crash. Okay, so you are at virtualexperttraining.com, but you're actually in the middle of a forest in a tiny house. So tell me what's most exciting to you about your business in your tiny house in the forest today?
Well, of course, it's getting to be on your show, Jeff. I mean, that is a given, right?
Thanks. All right. That's great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And getting to laugh. I mean, how many podcasts? I'm going to tell you, I'm on a lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast, and it is rare to have people that laugh. And I so love laughter. So thank you for giving me that gift today. Yes.
You're welcome. That's easy. No problemo. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about. So, you are now a business owner, but that's not where you started, right? So we'll talk a little bit about where you grew up. I don't even know if you went to college, so that's a question. Mm-hmm. I know that you've got this interesting story about how you became a grandmother without having children of your own to begin with. And I thought that was
cheated.
You cheated. I like to say you hacked that. You hacked it.
Oh, because you see, hack is a term that I haven't learned to use yet.
Okay.
Hack.
Cheat.
No,
cheat. It's another word for cheat. Yes. That's what I say. Okay. It's another word for cheat.
But it sounds better.
I don't know.
It's like instead of saying you stole something, you borrowed it.
Right. In the military, we said, don't say the word steal. I acquired that.
Acquired.
I'm an acquisition
I like that even
specialist.
better.
There you go. Or scrounge. You know, scrounge is a good word. Mm-hmm. I like that. Okay. So let's get right into it. Where did you grow up?
Mm-hmm. So I grew up in the now infamous Ferguson, Missouri. That is where I grew up.
Ferguson. Yes.
I went
in the news a lot.
I know. Yes, it is. And believe me, when all of that happened, it was so shocking to me. I'm like, wow, that's where I grew up. And, you know, a lot of the stories that you saw about this isn't really what Ferguson is really like. It's really, it's just a tiny, wonderful community. And I can tell you that for sure.
Sure.
But I grew up there, middle to lower class family. My mother had a very negative attitude towards children. And basically, let me just summarize it this way. She did not want to have any, so she just pretended like she didn't. I'll give you an example.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Give me the example. Sorry.
So she and my stepfather went out to eat every meal, every day, and didn't cook us kids anything. She would give me, and remember, this is back in the 1960s. She would give me $20 and drop me off at the grocery store, and I would buy groceries for the week for us. She didn't care what I bought. So I bought ding dongs, the chocolate covered.
I remember
Hostess
ding dongs.
things.
Yes.
Yeah, I bought ding dongs, bologna, and frosted flakes, and that's what we ate.
I love the fact that you just said bologna. Like when we were kids, bologna was the thing. It's like ham.
Oh, hell
Nobody
yeah.
ever had ham. Ham was like for special
No.
occasions. Yeah. That's like, ooh, who got married? You're
right.
having ham?
That's right. That's exactly right. I totally.
It's a different world that we grew up in, right? Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So very nutritious.
So when I
Good
thought
for you.
about, so when I thought about going to college, I literally said to my mother, so, it's time for me to start thinking about where I'm going to go to college. And she said, college? Who do you think you are? You're not going to college. So that was
Did she
just like,
really say
okay, well,
that?
I'm not
Wow.
going to college. Oh, hell yes.
Wow.
Well, do you think that somebody that doesn't want to have children wants to help them go to college? No.
That's true. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she pretended
So,
like she didn't have kids. And that's a
Yes.
literal statement. Okay. Gotcha.
Literal.
Okay.
Yes. So what I did was I was like, all right, I need to get out of this house as fast as possible.
Good
And
idea.
what is the very fastest way that I can start making money, good money?
Okay.
And I decided that I wanted to become a secretary because I was really good at typing fast.
Wow.
And I went to the very best secretarial school that there was in the St. Louis, Missouri area at the time.
Okay.
And it was called, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Miss Hickey's Secretarial School.
That's the best. Wow. That's like
It
from a
was.
show in the past. Miss Hickey's?
I know.
That's
That needs to be
great.
on Schitt's Creek, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's the kind of name that they have on Schitt's Creek.
Because you can't make that shit up. Oh, that's awesome.
No.
Miss Hickey's. Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Hickey's Secretary School. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it really was the best. So much so that when you graduated from there, you got to pick. I mean, you had jobs. Basically, it was
Wow.
just which one do you want? Yeah.
Wow.
So I literally did stenography and typing.
Right.
And I got into
Stenography.
the corporate world that way.
Tell me,
Yes.
what is it? What are you doing when you're
That's
doing
where you
that?
make those little squiggly lines.
Right.
Instead of words, writing out words, you make little squiggly lines that mean words. So I loved it because it was like a different language that I learned that nobody knew.
Did you have to make
I
it
don't
up,
remember.
or what were the squiggles?
No,
like
no,
something
you're
you
taught
learned?
those squiggly
Okay.
lines.
Interesting.
You're taught the squiggly lines.
Wow.
I don't think anybody teaches it anymore. But back then, oh yeah, Miss Hickey's Secretarial School taught us stenography.
So it's basically just a really
Yes.
fast way of writing.
It is. It's
Okay.
a really, like court stenographers, how they
Yes.
have the machines that, they just press one button and it gives you a bunch of words. That's what
Okay.
stenography is like. But instead of having a machine,
You're writing these
you
squiggles.
actually write these little squiggly lines.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
Yeah. And I
Wow.
mean, back then.
So when you did your typing, did you type on an electric typewriter, or was it a manual typewriter?
IBM Selectric.
The IBM
IBM
Selectric,
Selectric.
number 1, 2, or 3?
Yes.
3.
The very original.
The original.
Very original.
Wow. So
Whatever. Yeah.
You'll like
Oh,
this.
hell yeah. I
You'll like
remember when it
this.
came out.
So in
Yeah.
1988, I went to Air Force Secretary School. I was when I joined the Air
Ooh,
Force
I
in
do like that.
1988. I was an enlisted guy, right? And my specialty was 702, which doesn't means nothing except unless you were in the Air Force. But so we learned how to type on an IBM Selectric 3 electric correcting typewriter. So it did have like the automatic correction tape on there. But we also were typing on carbons. You remember those? With the manifold paper
Oh,
and the
hell yes.
carbon paper behind it? Right.
Yes.
So then you would have like
Yes.
the front page was the real copy, and then there was like a piece of carbon paper, and then a yellow sheet behind it, and that was your record copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. Whole
Do you
different world.
And what about whiteout? Remember whiteout? Did you ever use that?
Yes, I did. Not very well.
Oh, my
I was
God.
never very
Yeah.
good at whiteout, but yes, it was still around. Yeah. So I would.
It got gloopy, really thick,
it
really
was-
fast.
and you could never really use it ever. I mean, did you ever use it that on something that went out of the office? Was because I couldn't.
Yeah. No,
No, not really.
couldn't.
So I don't know what I don't know what it was for. Maybe it was for like making corrections
Internal
on something.
stuff.
Yeah, just for something that you were going to put in the file. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
weird. So weird.
Now, and just to give you a reference, compared to your 1980, I went to Miss Hickey's secretarial school in 1975.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just going from 75 to 88, the technology was pretty
Huge
much the
differences,
same,
yeah.
pretty much the same, but still, a lot different,
Yeah.
Still, but,
Yeah.
in 88, when I got to my first base, there was a PC there, right? There was a PC there. It had a floppy disk. It didn't have a network. There was no network yet. Networks didn't exist yet. But they did have this thing. It was a Wang word processor that was connected to like this daisy wheel printer. So that was kind of like you made your letter in the word processor and then stuck it into the printer so you could make corrections before you printed it. Wow, what an invention. But nobody knew how to use the PC. No, it was just there. It wasn't even on.
Yeah.
So I was a genius when I showed up and I knew how to turn it on and boot it. And I found a word processor and I plugged it into the dot matrix printer and they thought, oh my God, he's a genius. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was okay.
I'm still pretty much back to where I barely know how to turn on a computer, even though I've had an online business since 2001. I'm not techie at all. So I'm impressed that you knew how to turn it on and connect a dot matrix printer.
I was a nerd. I was very much a nerd. So when I was in middle school, so probably, I don't know what year that would be. So early 80s, I guess. But I had a computer and you turned it on and there was no operating system. You had to program it yourself. You had to actually learn BASIC or something, to make it do anything. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so what was your first job then that you got to pick because you went to the hottest secretary school?
Yeah, Miss Hickey's.
Miss Hickey's.
Yes, I took a job. I took a job at an insurance company in downtown St. Louis. And boy, did I think I was something being downtown St. Louis in a high-rise building and everything.
Whoa.
And I remember I had, oh man, was I hot back then. I wore I wore super short skirts and super tight tops. And I would take my little the secretarial pads with the spiral at the top.
Yep.
And those I would take that into my boss's office.
Right.
Yeah. I would sit there in my boss's office with my legs crossed and taking shorthand. I thought I was in heaven. I really did. I loved it so much. Yeah. And I took
this whole story is making me think of what was that show? Oh, damn. Now I'm blanking. The thing about the ad agency, Mad Men, is the era that I'm thinking about, right? So everybody's like drinking highballs and smoking in the office.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh.
And
Jeff,
groping all the women. Yes. Right.
I was literally chased around the desk by my boss. Literally. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And
so that guy would be in jail now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it got to the point where, the boss's office was at the end of the hallway, and I would walk past other managers' offices.
Right.
And I would yell, "I'm going into the boss's office." And
so somebody come get me.
Exactly. And I would get in there, and he would shut the door, and oh my God would begin, and I would yell, "Okay, I'm done now." And somebody would knock on the door and go, "Mom, I need your assistance." So they ended up helping me.
They had to rescue you every time you went in there and shut the door. Wow.
That's right.
Wow. My goodness.
Yeah.
So what were you doing in there? Just like he was dictating a letter, or just trying to chase you around the office? A little bit of both.
No, start legitimate, dictate a letter.
Okay.
And when he was done with that, it would be, so, my wife really doesn't understand me kind of thing. Right?
Wow.
And I'm 18. I'm 18
Right.
years old.
Right. And
it's
he's
so naive.
old and gross.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And he'd come around from the, behind his desk where he was dictating and, sit right in front of my chair and tell me all about this. And then I would be like backing up. And soon I'm going on the other side of the desk and he's following me around. So
Wow.
that's how you end up being chased around the desk.
Gotcha. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. It is a different world.
Oh my gosh. But talking about the smoke too.
Yeah.
I still remember sitting, and this is years later, but I can still remember this so clearly, sitting in my cubicle in a corporation and cigarette smoke lingering in the air. I can still remember that. And I think, how did we live like that?
I know. Yeah. Even if you weren't a smoker, you were smoking.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it was thick.
So again, back to my first Air Force assignment. When I first got there, it just sort of gives you how long it takes for the military and the Air Force to pick up on trends. So it's already 88, right? So there's a lot of anti-smoking in the office everywhere, right? But for at least a little while, so I was right there in that office for the transition where he could be smoking in his office. And then they went, nope, you can't smoke in your office anymore. Now you have to go to the smoking room. So that happened while I was there, where they just identified this big room where everybody that wanted to smoke had to go. That was the first step, and now they kick everybody out of the building completely. But the first step was, no, instead of smoking right there and sharing your smoke with your office mates, go share it with the other smokers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I remember going through all of that. And I also remember, feeling so jealous once they did start going on smoke breaks, thinking,
I should start smoking.
I want a smoke break.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to smoke, but I want a smoke break.
Right. I just started taking them. I would say, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and take a break. Right. And they'd be like, what are you doing out there? Nothing. I'm just, taking a break. And they're like, why are you taking a break? Well, just pretend I'm smoking. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. So, and nobody argued with that. Right. So if I just got up and left and hung out with the smokers for a while, I would just say, just pretend I'm smoking. Then I realized that one of my commanders in Hawaii was a smoker. And then he made me not wear my Oakley sunglasses that I really liked. So that's when I stopped doing the fake smoke breaks. He was like, I don't think those sunglasses are authorized in uniform. And I'm like, well, you're the only opinion that matters, sir.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll not be wearing them in uniform anymore. Yeah, that kind of sucked. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no joke.
So, okay. So you are now how long did that job last? Where you're running around hiding from your boss?
Well, I was still living in the Ferguson, Florissant area, which is in North County of St. Louis, for anybody listening that knows the area. And I was taking a bus from my apartment to downtown, which takes about an hour on a city bus. And I am, and you might notice that I'm a bit of a talker and I'm pretty outgoing, like crazily outgoing. And I got to know everybody on the bus and we'd have parties on the bus. Nice. And I met my first husband on the bus.
Wow.
And and he was going downtown and he worked at what's now AT&T, but back then was called Southwestern Bell Telephone.
Okay.
And he said, you can make a whole lot more money doing the same thing you're doing in the insurance company at the phone company. And so I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. Yeah. So after 2 years at the insurance company, I interviewed at the phone company and I immediately got on and moved over there. And I doubled my income quickly.
Wow. Just like that.
By just making that move. Yeah.
Nice.
And I don't remember exactly how much I was making back then, but I knew I was really excited because, I had been struggling to pay for an apartment and all that kind of stuff with
Sure.
the amount I was earning at the insurance company. So I immediately began earning enough to live on, and that I just felt so luxurious. And I still
Right.
just had my Miss Hickey's certification. That's all I had.
Right. Well, you're probably pretty good typist, pretty good stenographer,
I am very good.
expert,
I'm very good.
running
Very
around at a
fast.
desk evading lecherous men. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Good at keeping. And here's what you learn very quickly. And I'll bet you had the same thing in the military, which is don't rock the boat.
Obviously. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's sad that it's true, but it is true. Yeah. You in the military, it's a little bit different, because a lot of it is, I would say it's 50-50 being a naive person who's, for me anyway, I joined the Air Force when I was 18, and I was like you. I grew up in small town Michigan, right? So my knowledge of politics and, anything to do with important people, like colonels think they're important, in their mind, they're hugely important, and generals even more so, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm sure. I think I would feel like I was very important.
Right. Anybody that gets the title commander, very important, right? But, depending on the rank, it's a little bit different. But I know none of this stuff. I'm learning it academically, but learning it viscerally took me a while,
Yes.
where you actually get that look, about, are you really that stupid? Do you remember that look? I don't know. I got it a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Just saying something dumb. Like I did a stand-up comedian routine at some sort of military function at my very first base in Japan. And I accidentally told dick jokes. You can't do that. You can't do that in front of the colonel's wife. Are you going to be all right over there?
Oh God, that is so hilarious.
So I guess I wasn't looking at the commander or the general's or the colonel's wife, but apparently she turned white or something when I
Oh, God.
told the dick joke.
Oh,
and
God.
then they gave me the hook.
Oh my God. Oh.
So yeah, so then I had a whole mess of people come tell me how that's not a good idea. And then a bunch of other people come up and say, yeah, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, some of these lessons you kind of have to learn the hard way. Okay.
Well, I've learned every lesson I've ever learned the hard way, Jeff. I'm telling you.
I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. Maybe not all of them, but a lot. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you take your licks. And
I am now paying much more attention. I believe that the universe gives you a little tap and says, hey, you might want to change this.
That's true.
Yeah. And I think that's what you talk about in this podcast too.
Yes.
And then they shove you, and then they take a brick to your head. And I am learning to pay attention to that.
To the tap
now.
The tap. Yes.
Yeah.
Veers don't just like, it's not like, it's not a punch in the face to begin with, right?
Right.
You get some warning.
Yeah.
You definitely get a warning. Right. So yeah, it's better to learn from the tap than the full on punch in the face. I concur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was that job with AT&T like? Was it better or about the same or just more money? What was it like?
So the insurance company was really small, and there really was absolutely no room for progression, for improvement to get promoted. And as you can imagine, at AT&T and in that era, the headquarters for Southwestern Bell was in St. Louis. So I was literally working in the headquarter building. And so there was tons of opportunity, and they were really, really good about promoting from within. So I quickly got promoted to supervisor. And they also had fabulous benefits. Like if you go to college, they will pay for everything.
Wow.
So I began going to college. I ended up getting an undergraduate degree in marketing. Nice. And I moved into the marketing department. And that's where Yeah, that's where the veer stared happening.
Okay. At least
And
one
I got
veer.
a tap.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I got a tap.
So now, are you already married at this point?
Yeah, by then, let's see. By then, well, I've skipped ahead a lot. I can back
That's
up if you
fine.
want me to,
No, that's
but
fine.
I was on my third husband by the time I'm getting ready to tell you this story.
Wow. Well, if it's boring, then just skip over it. That's totally acceptable. But okay, that might be the
Okay.
funnest part. That by this time you're already on husband number 3. Awesome, good for you.
That's right. Well, here's the mistakes I made wrong there. Okay. I did not pay attention to the taps. I waited for the punch in the face. So my first husband decided he preferred his secretary over me. You remember the one I met on the bus?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
Well, once we got married, we started carpooling together. And here's the tap I should have noticed right away. We would stop and pick up this really cute girl on the way in every day. That was his secretary.
Okay. That was it, huh?
Yeah. And his sisters actually were the one that called me and said, so he's having an affair with that woman. Have you not noticed? And I'm like, what?
Wow.
So we got divorced. And then I did a rebound marriage that was really bad and really ugly and really fast. I literally should have divorced him on the honeymoon. I shouldn't have married him, but I knew on the honeymoon I should have divorced him. And it only took me 2 years then to divorce him. So by the time I was 30, I already had 2 divorces.
Wow.
And Jeffrey, I decided, I looked back and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Who's the common denominator? Oh, it's me. I'm the common denominator.
That's awesome for you, right? That's great. That you had, you're like 30 and you've got like some awareness about you, and good for you. You got some therapy. Yay. I think everybody should get therapy, me included.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I totally agree. Everybody needs it.
You remember, tell me about like the last time you went in for your insurance approved mental health checkup. How was that? How did it go?
You mean at the company, EAP?
No.
That's what it was called there.
The one
EAP.
that was sponsored by your health insurance company. Because it doesn't exist. We don't get one.
I'm literally racking my brain.
You're like,
I'm literally racking my brain and thinking,
you just say, Jeff, that doesn't exist. I know it doesn't exist, Kathy, but really it kind of should, shouldn't it?
Oh, hell yes, it should. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead, there's a big stigma around it.
Well, here's the thing is if you have basically 2 ways of getting therapy or mental health, right? Yes, nowadays we have EAP, and the EAP you have to have you can't just go in and say, "Hi EAP, I'd like to have a mental health checkup." There's nothing wrong. I'm fine, but let's just have a chat about my life and how I'm doing mental health wise, right? You can't do that as far as I know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I've never done it, right? But you have to have a specific complaint to go to the, like, I'm having trouble X, right?
Right.
I don't know. Right? I'm very much like Forky.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Is there anything wrong with me? I don't know. That's why I get a checkup.
Right.
Right. So anyway, go ahead and talk about your therapy.
Yeah, because I mean, mine was, I've been divorced twice. Apparently, there's something wrong with me. What is it? And I did go to EAP, and they, you know what they said? They had a woman that was in there, and again, this is a long time ago, and she's, after talking with me for 5 minutes, here was her analysis. I can tell you what's wrong with you, and I'm like, oh, cool. And she goes, you're gay, and I'm like, I am. Wow, I didn't know.
That explains everything, except the fact that I'm not turned on by women. That's awesome.
and Jeff, you know, I was so desperate for help. I literally thought, gosh, I'm going to really think about this and analyze a little bit.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I did. And then she did refer me to a therapist.
Though, right? Turns out you're not.
I know. And quite honestly, sometimes I'm like, God, I wish you would have been right. My life could have been a lot easier, I think.
Probably.
But really, no. I do know that's not true. I do know that's not true. So, yeah, that was, you know, and that was a very odd thing to say in 5 minutes, I think.
Right.
With no reason. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that was
still
her
have
job too. So that's
idea.
extra
I think-
scary. Yeah.
I know that was
Yeah.
her job. So
That's
I
her
did. I did get to go to a therapist who was really good, really helped me a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and helped me through my childhood stuff, which is that's what's wrong with everybody basically is the way you were raised or things that happened to you in your childhood.
That's a lot.
And
there's a lot there. There's definitely a lot there for
is.
everybody. Yes.
Yeah, there is. And
you
as
especially,
a result,
you had a mom that didn't want kids. So that's
right.
that's not
And
great.
she's still alive at this point.
Right.
She's still alive at this point and still ignoring me. Like,
Wow.
for example, every once in a while, every once in a while I get a wild hair around Christmas time and think, maybe we could get together for Christmas. And I would call her. She wouldn't get on the phone.
Wow.
My stepdad would answer. I could hear her talking in the background. I'd be like, so I'm calling to see if maybe we could get together for Christmas. And he's like, and then he'd pause for a second. I could hear my mom say, tell her I'm in the bathtub. I could hear her.
Mom, I can hear you. That's awesome.
And I'd say, and I would tell my stepdad, Dad, I can hear her. And he goes, well, she said to tell you she's in the bathtub. And I'm like, yeah. Could we get together for Christmas by any chance? And he's like, no, we really don't like to do Christmas. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then, something would happen. Actually, the last Christmas that she was alive, I asked to get together for Christmas. And she said, no, they were just going to stay home. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to have my brother over anyway. And that afternoon, Christmas Day, she called me and said, is your brother still there by any chance? And I said, no, Mom, he's not. He's already gone. How are you and Dad doing today? And she goes, oh my God, we had the best Christmas ever. We went over to some friend's house and she tells me all about it. I'm literally sitting there thinking, I don't even know how to handle this at this point.
So when they said
wouldn't see me,
we don't do
went
Christmas
over to somebody else's house
with you.
Exactly.
Ouch.
Exactly.
Ow.
Yeah.
Okay. You need lots and lots of therapy.
Which thankfully I got.
Good.
And then I married. Yeah. So here's one great piece of advice that anybody who's like, I don't pick men well either, because that was what my therapist said. You're really bad at picking men.
Okay.
She recommended that I date anyone who asked me out once, because I was so bad at picking them. I needed to experience what it was like to date different type of people.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And I did. I took that. I can't tell you how many dates I went on and how I could write a book about this. Right.
All right.
And the man that I ended up marrying, when he asked me out, I thought, oh, dear God, this is the most boring man in the history of the world.
Okay.
But I have to go out with everybody at least once.
Okay.
So I went out with him and he was awesome.
Boring,
and we've been married 26 years
Why did
now.
you think boring going in? Because he was quiet or not exciting?
Very quiet.
Okay.
Very quiet.
What was his job that was boring?
He worked at, you're not going to be surprised, he worked at AT&T.
Okay. All right.
He was in EEOC in AT&T.
Okay.
And
those guys are
I learned.
That's a hard job. EEO.
Yes.
It's a hard job.
And he's super smart, super good at what he did.
But you have to be very
really,
diplomatic, right?
Yes.
Right.
Very diplomatic.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of men I had been picking in the past were really exciting bad boys.
Gotcha.
So that's what I was used to. And this guy was really nice.
That's like the opposite.
Have you ever had anybody
of a bad
say,
boy?
That's exactly right.
Right.
So I was just
very
like,
boring.
boring.
Yes. Boring. I get it. Yeah. But sometimes boring's awesome. Once you get to a certain age, you realize that what you really want is boring, because then you can go make your own excitement, because you're not putting out fires in your life. I learned that too when I was in my 20s with women too. Yeah. Because there's exciting women too, right? Wow. She's like, I met this girl about the same time as I met my wife, right? And you're going to love this. She wasn't a stripper, but she worked in a strip club.
Ooh,
so that's exciting in and of itself, right? So she was like a waitress in a strip joint. But she worked at like at least two other restaurants while I dated her. And she was going to school to be a doctor. So med school.
Wow.
And 3 jobs. And she looked good enough in lingerie to work at a very upscale strip joint without being a stripper, right? And making a ton of money there too. So I'm trying to get at she was really hot.
Yeah, I can
Like
tell.
way,
And what I
way,
want to know
way
is,
too good looking for me. You know, way too good looking.
does your wife know about this?
I think she knew I was dating a girl named Natalie. She never saw her though. So you know what that's like. You're just dating, right? So it's not like you're exclusive
right.
with anybody, right? So it's not like I was hiding the fact.
Does your wife? Yeah, but does your wife listen to these podcasts?
She listens to me record them. How's that sound?
Oh, she's listening
Occasionally.
right now?
She could be listening to me right now. But I mean, this was like nearly 20 years ago. And I picked her.
Yeah, she's a saint.
She's
I can already
won.
tell.
She's
I can already
won.
tell your wife is a saint.
But what she kind of like, when I think about Natalie, right? The reason why I didn't end up keep chasing Natalie wasn't anything about her being exciting or bad or like what you were going through. She was just too busy. I've never been type A personality. It's weird, right? That I'm maybe having a podcast and I'm kind of like lazy. I'm kind of a lazy person.
I don't believe that.
Well,
I don't believe that.
I'm not lazy, but I'm also not like, I'm not one of these people that wants to change the world. I think the world is fine.
Oh.
Right?
Oh,
right.
I do want to change the world.
Right. I'd rather
I do
change
wanna change the
myself.
Oh, well, I want to do that too.
So when I say, let me finish up this Natalie business and then we'll move on.
Okay.
So she was just too busy for me.
Yeah, I'm
just too
really
busy for me.
interested in this Natalie thing. I am.
Yeah, Natalie was just too busy.
Yeah.
So basically,
She
she was too busy. So we
Oh,
never
okay.
actually had a real date.
Oh.
I would call
okay.
her up. We would chat on the phone.
Wait
and
a
then-
minute.
Yeah, never had a real date.
Yeah.
So she gave me a note with her
Okay.
phone number on it and said, Natalie, call me. Right. And I called her. And every time I called her to make a date, she was working. So she would be like, I'm working here at this time. You can come and we can hang out while I'm working. That was me seeing Natalie.
Oh.
I was like, this is not working for me. Yeah, no, it's not working for me.
Did you actually go and do that while she was working?
Yeah. Like twice, I think. 2 different places. So I had food. I said hi. And then I was like, this is not a date. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just like she was just so hot. I couldn't let it go for like 2 dates, not dates. So anyway.
No, I know.
And then
I know that
learned.
type.
I learned. I was like, okay, so she was just sort of like experimenting with me. She's already decided that I'm not getting past the come see me at work stage. She doesn't have enough, I don't know, whatever to tell me, right? She's working up that. So I just figured it out on my own. I was like, okay. I probably got past the tap, this is not going to work out with Natalie. I figured it out. It only took twice, so that's not so bad. Anyway, I digress.
No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, not too bad.
And by the way, Jeff, now I know why your wife wouldn't be jealous about that. I wouldn't either, because that wasn't a real relationship.
Not at all. No, it was just me seeing the shiny object.
Right.
The shiny object.
That's right.
In the form of a person. Yes. And going.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You just get dazzled.
She was very shiny.
She was very shiny.
She was very shiny.
She wants to talk to me. That's never going to work out, by the way. That's never, ever going to work out. That's like a 10 coming down to a 6.
That's a heartache.
Yes, exactly. Going, call me. I don't even know what was going on in her mind. Was she just looking to have like a bunch of fish on a string? I don't know. I have no idea.
That's exactly it.
Is that what it is?
That was it.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was like
just,
a backup to a backup to a backup to a backup in case I'm bored someday, right?
Well, you know how, have you ever heard of like men putting a notch on the bedboard or a notch on their belt? This was the woman's version of that.
Interesting. So they do that. Okay. See, I'm still learning. All right. Okay.
Especially the young shiny ones.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well,
That's why older women are always better, because we've slowed down already. We'll take better care of you.
I agree.
My husband says I'm a turkey vulture now. I'm so old. You know, how there are cougars?
Yes.
I'm not even a cougar anymore. Now I'm a turkey vulture.
Wow. That visual is just not going to go away. Okay. So, all right. So you get some therapy. You're on.
Yep.
What was the big veer? Because you said this. Here comes the veer.
The veer. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I interrupted.
So,
a long time ago.
No, that's okay. So by this time, I have been at Southwest Bell Telephone for 18 years.
Wow.
I'm 40 years old.
My goodness,
Yeah,
you were there a while.
Yep.
That's like a whole
I'm
career.
40 years old.
Right.
Well, actually, I'm 38. I've been there. Let's say I've been there 16. I'm gonna back up just 2 years.
That's
I've been
fine.
there 16 years. I'm 38. I go into my boss and I say, "Why am I not getting promoted anymore?" And he just very flippantly, without even looking at me, says, "Well, you don't have a master's degree." And I'm like, "So I need to get a master's?" And he goes, "Yep." And so, they pay for masters too. So I went and got an MBA.
Wow.
And now I'm 40, still 2 years, no promotions. Now I got all
And you
kinds
have
of,
your master's degree.
accolades.
Right.
I have my master's degree. Yeah. Still no promotions. Somebody else in our group gets promoted. I go in. Okay. Why did she get promoted? She doesn't have a master's even. And now I do. And then he looks up at me, and that look you said that you got, I got one of those looks.
And I can't believe
said,
you're so stupid. Look, are you really that stupid?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And
I know
he
that
said,
look.
"You want to know?" Yeah. He said, "You want to know the truth?" And I'm thinking, dear God, what? 2 years ago, I wanted to know the truth. I went and got an MBA for nothing. And I said, yes, I wanted to know the truth 2 years ago.
That was a lot of work, asshole.
Yeah. Yep. So he said, "You laugh and smile too much. And until you change that, you're never going anywhere in this company."
Really?
Yep. Really.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Yep.
You're too happy.
And you know what? He really did me a favor. He really did.
Okay.
In hindsight, because I had been getting the tap on the shoulder. I had been getting migraine headaches from being stressed at work. I was so bored. You know what it's like to be so bored at your job.
I totally know what it's so like to be so bored.
Oh my God.
Ugh.
Yes.
I hate
so
being
I
bored at
had
work.
been experiencing. Me too. I had been experiencing that. I was very unhappy. Part of the reason I wanted to get a promotion, because I was so miserable. I'm like, at least I could make some more money.
Right.
And when he told me that, at first I went back and cried in my tiny little cubicle. And then I started thinking, okay, I'm 40. I would have to stay at this company another 20 years to get retirement and a pension.
Right.
20 years is way too long to put my life on hold and pretend like I'm not happy and not smile anymore.
Right.
That's a death sentence.
Yeah.
So I decided to quit.
You, buddy. I want to laugh and smile.
Mm-hmm.
So you quit.
That's exactly right. I want to laugh and smile. So I took my resignation letter in, and he, the look changed from, and by the way, it wasn't immediate. It took me about 6 months to decide what I was going to do.
It takes a lot of gumption. Yes.
Oh, and everybody told me I was making the biggest mistake in the world.
Crazy.
All my colleagues.
Yes. Right.
Yes. Because this was 1996. And oh my God, everybody still believed 100% corporations were the way to go.
What are you going to do when you get sick? You won't have any health insurance. Yes.
Yes.
I know that voice.
You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have security. And I'm thinking, yes. Well, that was in the era when, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but at the phone company, this was the era when once a year, they would put boxes at the end of the aisles of the cubes and say, you have to reapply and re-interview for your job. And if you don't get rehired, there's the boxes to pack up and leave.
Oh my God.
And those boxes would sit there for about a month while we all went through this agony. Yeah.
Wow.
That's part of what was stressing me out.
My goodness. Every year?
Yeah, every year.
My goodness. Wow.
It was horrible.
That is horrible.
Yeah, it was torture. It was torture. So when I went in and gave him my resignation, the look on his face was pure shock. And
I love it.
He almost lost his breath.
I love it.
And
that's so much better look. I love it.
I know. And then he said, you can't do this. And I said, I know for sure I can quit. I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice in writing. That's all we have to do. And he goes, no, I mean, you'll never make this kind of money anywhere again. I can't let you do this.
Right.
And I thought, you have no idea what I am capable of. You think I'm still that little secretary from when I was 17? I am not like that anymore. I'm a grown woman. I've gone through
I've got a master's
therapy.
degree because of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so I vowed to myself right then, I said, not only will I replace this income, I will double it.
Wow.
And at that time, that's all I could think. That's as big as I could think, right?
Right.
And I was making about $55,000 in 1996. So my goal was $100,000. And
not bad.
Then fortunately, it was really a good income back then.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know how fast you want me to move forward to, how I became a VA, but as a VA, within 3 years, I was earning $100,000.
Within 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And basically doing very much a similar sort of job, but on your own. So
exactly, as my own boss.
So tell me, because that's got to be hard. And this is 1996. So there wasn't
by the time...
Right.
No, by the time I became a VA, so there's 5 years in there that I can tell you about if you want me to.
Sure.
I did an MLM company. I worked for MLM.
Nothing wrong with
you
that.
know what MLM?
I do. Multi-level marketing. You were selling stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So the other thing that I had wanted to do when
kind of sort of not really.
let me tell you. So here was my reality with MLM, and I don't know what other people's are, but my reality was, number one, I loved it because I learned how to sell and I learned to become fearless and I increased my confidence. Okay. Because by the time I left that corporate job, I felt like a piece of dirt on the bottom of my boss's shoe. I mean, he would say things to me, Jeff, like, if you don't like it here, there's a door. Don't let it hit you in the ass.
I remember that all the time. Yes. Yeah.
So going through that MLM process and learning how to sell and increasing my confidence, that was incredibly valuable.
Right.
I broke records. I won every trip. I won every award. And all that really increased my confidence and taught me how to sell, Right. Did I make money? No. I made a lot of money for the company, but the largest profit I ever made was $10,000 in a year.
My goodness. That's not a lot of money.
It's not. And that's the year I decided, you know what? I need to do something else.
But it is good.
So I actually make money.
Sales training basically is a way of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And confidence. Yeah.
Right.
And confidence training. Okay. Because I was really confident after that. When you can recruit people, when you can help, because really I was helping them all grow their own MLM businesses too.
Right.
So it was kind of like a precursor to what I'm doing today.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
It's not probably the best, it's not where you want to land, but at least you got what you wanted out of it. Right.
Right.
It's something you had to go through.
Well, and I also learned that I never wanted to do that again because, MLM's touted as your own company. And while you are an independent contractor, you're still really selling for somebody else and helping them earn profit.
Right.
Whereas as a virtual assistant, it really is your own business.
Yours. Right.
Yeah. And you work, the profit is yours.
Right. That's amazing. Okay. So how did you make that transition or pivot or whatever you want to call it to starting your VA business?
Yeah. So we had a great experience. My husband got a contracting job in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And remember, we're still in Missouri. So Halifax, Nova Scotia, I honestly didn't even know where it was.
Right. I don't know where it is either.
Oh gosh, you need to look it up. It is in Canada. It is
Right.
beautiful. It's like
Right.
right above Maine. It is beautiful
Okay.
there.
Right. All right.
And he said, if you're going to not do this MLM thing anymore, I've got this opportunity. Why don't we move for 6 months? It was a 6-month gig to
Okay.
Nova Scotia. You can relax, rejuvenate,
Yeah.
and I'll do this work.
Okay.
And we did. And
Nice.
when we did that, I got on the internet then.
And what year is this now? Was there an internet?
This was 1998-ish. Okay. 1997. 1997.
That was like the
So we
beginning of the internet. Kind of.
That's right.
Yes. Okay.
And I got on the internet and I found us a place to rent in Nova Scotia. And while I was there, then I started shopping for our next place to move to because, I knew we only had 6 months.
Right.
And while I'm doing this, I'm looking at real estate agents' websites and looking at their marketing. And every agent I talked to, I would say, hey, I've got this great idea for you on how you could improve your marketing, how you could improve your website.
Okay.
And
nice.
one of them said, well, why don't you become my virtual assistant and do this work for me? And I'm like, do what?
What's that?
And yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's the best kind.
Yeah.
See, that's the good kind of tap. When you're saying things like, oh, I can help you XYZ PDQ. And they go, well, okay, I'll give you money and then go do that. That's the best way to make a business, right? Because you're not doing it backwards, saying, I think people might want this, and then spending a bunch of your money.
Right.
When you say something to somebody that's getting ready to pay you and then they pay you, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Jeff, that's actually a really good tip because that's how I've ended up building everything that I've ever built. I'm on my 4th online business.
Nice.
And every business, I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can sell this thing that I've come up with. And then if I can sell it, then I'll do it.
Then I'll make the business. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went through that for years and years and years and years and years. I found out I really don't want to have a business at all.
And a lot of people discover that.
Yeah.
Yes. But a podcast, that's a business.
It is technically a business. Yes.
Okay.
But I'm running
You
it
just
more
pretend
like a
like
hobby.
it's not.
I'm running it like a hobby because it doesn't make money. It's a business that's been, what do they call that? A sole proprietorship since about 2015.
Yeah.
And I've never made any money.
Okay.
As it turns out, I'd just rather have a job, but that's me. I wouldn't mind,
and that's good.
Talk to you about like when I retire, maybe I might want to be a virtual expert because now since COVID, right? I'm talking so my job is with the Department of Energy and I'm basically a help desk guy, right? But most of my customers don't live in Vegas. I have there's like 18-ish customers here in Vegas, but most of them are like scattered around the country, right? So I'm already, the working from home thing really sort of like
You're already
gelled in my
doing it.
brain. I'm already doing it, right? I'm answering the phone saying, help desk, this is Jeff. And then, I remotely help them do their thing. It's fun. I think if I could make that context and
I actually know exactly what you can transition into that would work ideally for you.
There you go. Like a virtual
and it
help
would be
desk.
being a but the title in this industry, you would be a virtual assistant subcontractor, or you would work for a virtual assistant agency. And why you would like that is you might or might not be an employee depending on how they work. It's typically not an employee, but you don't have to get clients of your own. They bring clients to you and you do the work and they pay you. So
Nothing
it's
wrong
like
with
being
that.
an employee.
Right.
Yeah. So it's essentially what you're doing now.
Right.
It's just for a different, it's just for a different company.
Gotcha.
So I think you'd really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So just come back to me when you're ready.
I will. I will. I won't forget
Yeah.
Kathy.
And by the way, this is one of the things that I'm really good at is listening to what somebody has to say and then knowing exactly what they need to do next if they want to.
Yeah. So I can tell you this story that you'd love, right? So one of my customers on the help desk line was recently retired, federal employee, right? So he just retired like 6 or 8 months ago. And now he's wintering in his RV in Florida. And his ex-boss called him back and said, "We need you to come back." So they hired him back as a contractor to basically do his old job. And he only committed to 100% telework, 20 hours a week. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're bored when you're in the RV anyway, right? I mean, who's not bored for 20 hours a week? I mean, if you're just recently retired.
I watch television. I watch television 20 hours a week.
Me too.
Love television.
Me too. I love Netflix.
Yeah.
Me too. Netflix is great, but I have to say, like, I went back and saw, what was it? I went and watched Lost, the TV show Lost. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So when I watched it when it was live and you could only watch one a week, that show's way better if you don't binge it.
I wondered about that. I did wonder about that because I got to the point where I was just like, I can't watch this show anymore. And I thought the other day, I wonder if it's. I wonder if it's better if you binge it. I'm so glad to know it's not. I would have been so disappointed if I tried it and it sucked even more.
It's not that it sucks. I mean, I've seen it already, right? I think more or less I watched it all, but it just seems like more fun when you can wonder about the mysteries for a week in between. But if you go from
probably
one show to another, back to back to back binge style, then it's like, oh. Right. Having that gap in between in your brain where you're sleeping on it for, a week or so, it makes it more fun, I think.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And getting to talk with others about it, right? I mean, that's also important to me is, did you watch Lost and what did you think? And what do you think's going to happen? And
binging is fun, but I think something gets lost because you're not ruminating on it. You're not thinking about it. You're not dreaming about it. Right. So it's just like, before you know it, it's all over.
Yeah. And in fact, the shows that I really want to savor, I force myself not to binge.
I think I'm going to have to start doing that. Yeah. I do that with I'm into this show on Prime now called The Expanse, which is like a really good sci-fi book series. It's really good. But every time it comes out, I can't watch that with an interruption, right? So I have to have me time to watch. And I won't binge it either. I watch a show and then I sleep at least a day in between.
Yeah, that's exactly how I prevent myself from going through them too fast too.
Yeah.
One a day.
Yeah. Or longer. Longer is okay.
Right. Longer's okay too.
Right.
But no more than one a day. Because part of you wants to go to the next one. Oh, like don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're thinking on the same lines. So, okay. Yeah. So have we wrapped up your story? Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now in your virtualexperttraining.com business.
Yeah. So after I became a virtual assistant and, got to that 6 figures that I so wanted to get to, I was needing to hire what I just told you could become a virtual assistant subcontractor.
Okay.
Because I was bringing in so many clients, I couldn't take care of all of them.
Wow.
But when I went out to try to find other VAs, I didn't find the qualities that I was looking for in VAs. And so what I would do is I would take those that were close and I would teach them how to do it.
Right. Okay.
You remember that Veer? All of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why am I teaching this for free? I need to charge for this.
Yep. That makes sense.
So in 2008, I had spent from 2007 to 2008 developing this training program.
Wow.
And then 2008 hit. I had been from 2001 to 2008 a real estate virtual assistant.
Okay.
And I had 70 clients, and I was making six figures.
Yeah,
and
but
more.
all in real estate. And 2008 happened.
All in real estate. You know where this is going.
I've heard this story so many times, and whenever anybody says 2008 in real estate, I know what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All buildings stopped.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I went from 70 clients to 25 clients, from 100,000 to 25,000 in 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought, what the heck am I going to do now? And I had this training program that I was getting ready to begin, and I didn't have a lot of confidence that it was really going to work. You know, I had that lack of confidence in it because I had never done that before.
Right.
And I thought, well, what if I took my own training course to see if it actually works? Because what I was planning to teach was, and I call it this, how to find, get, and keep clients. So it's how to market yourself, how to niche, how to market, how to, charge, how to bring people in, how to keep them long-term happy and paying you well.
Clients that are awesome.
Yes.
Instead of clients
how to get
that
awesome clients.
Exactly. Out your soul, like your ex-bosses.
Yes, exactly. And I call that how to fire yourself if you find that you've gotten a client like that.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't working out.
Right. I've decided to go in a different direction. That's always a good line.
I like that. That's good. I don't have enough time, but I'm going to give you a referral. I don't know if you
exactly
refer them though. You refer them to people you don't like.
That's the other thing I say. If they're a PETA client, do you know what a PETA client is? A PETA client?
I don't. What's a PETA client?
Pain in the ass.
I thought you were talking about PETE, PETA. I thought you were talking about the
PITA.
I gotcha. Not the people that are like wearing furs and they're naked and they put blood on them.
That's right. Not PETA. That.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I took my own training, and in 30 days, I found a new target market. I decided I want to work with professional speakers, doing the same thing I did for real estate agents, but for professional speakers. And in 30 days, I made that decision, and I had all new clients.
Wow.
And then I was like, this works. I can sell it. And I started really doing what you're doing, Jeff, with this podcast. I started training as a hobby, right?
Okay.
I did charge for it, but I didn't charge very much.
Right.
And I only did about one group class a year with 4 to 10 people in it. And I did that for about 5 years.
Right. Okay.
While I still remained a VA, because I was making great money as a VA.
Right.
Well, and then
as long as you can handle it, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I had a coach who said, you're not giving your best to either one. You're not giving your best to your VA business, and you're not giving your best to your training program. You need to make a decision which one you really want. And
for safety, security at that point.
I was.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Because VA work is very secure. Because you have multiple clients.
You know how to do it. You're comfortable.
Exactly.
You're confident. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I could do it in my sleep almost.
Right.
I really could.
Yeah.
And that's when, remember you said, I don't want to change the world. Well, that's, Jeff, when I decided I wanted to change the world.
Well, good for you. Have fun with that.
And it's been going downhill ever since. No, I'm kidding.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, what I realized was with my training program, I was making a difference not only in the women's lives who decided to join my program, but in their families' lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their entire family life was changing. They would come to me and say, I've been able to do this and this and this. And my husband feels happier, and my kids see the success, and they now know what, we can do. So they were creating their own destinies. They were having success on their terms. If they wanted to work part-time, full-time, do this as a side hustle while they worked a job, whatever it was, they were able to do. And they were incredibly grateful.
You. Yes. That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah. See, but that's good.
And the other thing
you're going to have a lot of business. I think you will, because that was like the first thing that I said was like, well, in my mind, I'm like, again, it's got to be whatever I do in retirement. It's got to be on my own terms, right? I want to be the boss of everything.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Right.
You get to set your own hours. You get to decide where you're going to do the work, when you're going to do the work,
what you're doing, where you're doing it, how long you're doing it,
how many hours,
right,
how much you charge, all of that. You get to choose.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Jeff, I don't know about you, but and VAs are primarily women. About 95% are women. I love having guys become VAs, but they just typically don't. They think it's support and that's a woman's job.
Right.
Men make great VAs. I've trained about 5 out of the hundreds of women that I've trained. I've trained about 5 guys. They do great.
Yeah.
I just don't think they've seen the light yet that this is a really great opportunity.
Well, I think also like the VA sort of like image has taken a hit. Because when I imagine the negative sort of like stereotype, I guess, of VA is like a young woman being abused by a rich person.
Ooh, wow. I've never heard that one before.
Being abused, like making them work all hours and doing stupid shit. Like calling you in the middle of the night and saying like, hey, I need you to come here and take all the green M&Ms out of this jar. Just okay.
Okay. So that's more of a personal assistant.
Okay.
That's a personal assistant. Yeah.
So VAs don't do that.
And I will tell you, Jeff, that a lot of people get that confused. A lot of clients, most people who want to hire a VA, they don't really understand what they want or what they want them to do. Still, it's they're learning more.
Basically.
Yes. Yeah. But I will tell you that term VA is challenging for a couple of reasons. One, VA stands for Veterans Administration.
Right.
So a lot of times when I'm promoting stuff, people will email me and say, hey, I need help on the Veterans Administration. I'm like, that's not what I do.
That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Keyword problem.
And then
there.
of course, the other thing is with AI, they're calling things virtual assistants.
Oh, right. Like robots.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And then a third thing is more going back to what you were talking about, the perception of a virtual assistant. The perception of what a virtual assistant does is they do admin work. Now, do VAs do admin work? Yes, some do admin work.
Right.
But many more specialize, like what you would be doing on the, help desk. That's not admin work at all. That's techie work.
Right.
And you get paid more than an admin does.
Sure.
So
I wouldn't even
that's
know
why I
what
came
admin
up with the.
I really don't. I don't even know. What do they do? Type letters or work on spreadsheets?
Yeah.
I'm in the government, so I see what admins do in government. It's
probably about.
It's about the same. It's about the same.
Yeah.
Like working schedules and doing letters and things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
sorry,
by the way, the other thing, no, that's okay. I was just thinking about this. The other thing that makes the difference in whether or not somebody thinks it's admin is if you call it admin, right? If you don't call it admin and you call it something else and you work at a higher level, then it's not admin, right? So let me give you an example. Calendar management and email management. That could very much be admin. But I will tell you that the woman who does mine, her name's Carrie, she has taken it to a whole nother level.
Right.
She has it so specialized, and I pay her very well to do it because she is very good at it. And it is not admin work at that level.
So needed too.
Yes.
Once we
Like,
hang up, I can tell you funny stories about email. I don't want to do it when we're being recorded.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that while we've been talking, I've probably gotten 500 emails in my inbox.
Well, that's good. It's good for business, but you need help with it.
It's good for business, but how do you? That's all. Before I had Carrie, that's all I would do is go to my inbox and work on that.
So what does
now
she do?
she takes
go in
care
there
of all
and
that.
delete all the trash and then categorize what you actually need to read?
Yep. Absolutely.
awesome.
That's what she does. And she has it all set up so that everything works. And because she does my calendar management also, anything that I need to do, any work I need to do, she puts it on the deadline by when I need to do it. And she knows well enough how much time I need to get things done. Like here's my thing. I'm a procrastinator. So if something has a deadline of, let's say it's next Tuesday, I need her to put drop dead deadline on Tuesday, but I need her to put today that I need to work on it.
Right. I get it.
Yeah. And not only does she do that, but she has a link in the calendar that all I have to do is open it, click it, and there's all the material I need to do whatever it is I need to do.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
See, now everybody needs that. Everybody.
Oh my God, I know.
Especially if
she saves me at least 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably more.
She saves me at least 10 hours.
At least.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's great.
And she charges $1,100 a month for that, which you might be like, $1,100 a month. But I charge $1,000 an hour now.
Wow. That's a lot. Okay. So you can afford it.
So if she's saving me 10 hours a week, that's $10,000 a week.
Right. So
$40,000
you're getting
a month.
Really good bargain with that.
Exactly.
Understood.
Exactly.
It's all about,
and that's how I recommend people look at this stuff. Most coaches, trainers, anybody, they're going to charge $300 an hour or up. So take a look at that. And then look at what somebody's charging you to do the other work. And you can see very quickly how, oh my God, why was I doing my own email? That was crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's an expert of email. That's what you want to
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Kathy, this has been a blast, but we've been talking for a long time. We should wrap it up.
I know. I could talk to you all day. I love you. You're my new best friend.
This has been fun. So you are at virtualexperttraining.com. So how can people best get in touch and connect to the expertise of Kathy? I don't want to even try. Kathy G. Thanks.
Goughenour.
Goughenour. There you go.
Just call me Crazy Kathy.
Crazy
Kathy Goughenour.
That's right.
That's right. Well, not only can they go straight to my webpage that you've mentioned, but I also have a special page set up just for your podcast, Jeff.
Awesome.
It's virtual expert. Yeah, it's virtualexperttraining.com/VVV as in vroom vroom veer.
Yay. That's awesome. Well done. Yeah. Hey, this has been a blast. You have an awesome day. And let's do this again. Maybe like 6 months in a year.
That would be.
Let's do an update, like a show number 2, just so. And this time we'll just talk about TV or something. It doesn't even matter. We'll just laugh.
Oh my God, that would be so much fun,
right?
Jeff, I'm going to tell you right now.
Book it.
one of the things I have wanted. One of the things I have wanted to do is I've always wanted to be like a TV movie critic. And now that there's podcasts, all I'm trying to do is find somebody that I could do one of those kind of podcasts with and just talk about stuff like that.
It would be fun, right? Yeah, and just goof on.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I can do that.
You're on. Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, Kathy. You have a good one. Talk to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.